Everyone, please rise. Before we begin our program, I now want to ask that everyone please silence your phones or cut them off in respect for today's program. We're a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world, one child and one community at a time. It's always a great day to be a Kiwanis. Today, the 2022 Builders Cup program recognizing those who by unselfish personal service without hope of personal gain have outstandingly contributed to the upbuilding of the Sand Hills section. So we thank everyone for coming. We will have our Pledge of Allegiance by Catherine Doddridge, followed by the invocation by Jim Whitlock.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the movie Second-Hand Lines, Robert Duvall and Michael Caine starred as two grumpy old uncles who lived together, and they were visited by a teenage boy who was a nephew. They were having a discussion on the front porch one day. They were leaning back in their rocking chairs. And Duvall told the youngster, and I quote, "Sometimes the things that may or may not be true are the things that a man needs to believe in the most. That people are basically good. That honor, courage, and virtue mean everything. That power and money, or money and power, mean nothing. Good always triumphs over evil, and I want you to remember this, boy, that love, true love, never dies." You remember that, boy? Doesn't matter if it's true or not. You see, a man should believe in those things because those are the things worth believing in. Let's pray. Father God, so many things are going wrong in our great nation because we have turned from you and we're doing things that go against your word. We used to revere your name as a nation. Now we're worshiping idols in the form of celebrities, the internet, and riches. But Lord, your word says that if we humble ourselves as a nation and seek your face, you'll hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal our land. Father God, please act upon your word. Forgive us all our sins, for we have sinned greatly against you. Heal our nation from pain, immorality, fear, and envy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. All right, we will now have our welcome by Mr. Frank Thigpen.
I didn't think this many people could fit in this building. Thank you for bringing so many people to us today, our honoree. We will meet you later. Good afternoon, my name is Frank Thigpen, and in my capacity as the chairperson of the Builders Cup Committee, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone here today, our members and our special guests. And we have with us, and I will acknowledge just a few, so if I miss a special guest, please, as my wife says, I should never call names, but I'm doing it. We're so happy to have our honoree, and we have her family with her, her husband, Al, as I call him, AA. And then we have her beautiful daughter, Michelle, and her granddaughter, Morgan, who's a superstar. Thank you guys for being with us. And we all know we're going to have John Dempsey who's one of our special guests. You'll hear from him in just a few minutes. And we have chairman of the #1 community college in North Carolina's chairman of trustees, George Little, with us. Wave at us, George, where are you? Thank you. And we have Larry Cadell, who's also a great member of that board of trustees. And at his table, we got Neil Jackson, who's with us today. He's minister at the biggest Baptist church in northern Moore County, and he is a candidate for the State House. And sitting just one from him is Mike Harden, our district attorney, who is doing an outstanding job. Wade Bass, where are you? Wade Bass, who we owe so much to him. He's our county manager. He's doing a terrific job. And next to him, the man we all love, Gary Briggs, our tax supervisor. We just heard from you, Gary. And with him is our clerk to the county board, Laura, and our chief county attorney, Misty Leland. And beside her is the man we all owe thanks to, Frank Quist, chairman of our county commission. And I'm going to introduce you later, John Nagy, because remember you're Catherine's husband. And we have Robin Moore over to our right, who is president of the Rotary Club for Southern Pines, and is also program director for 103.1. Timeless favorites, my favorite race. Well, sit behind him, we have Shelley Cooper. Aaron, is that your wife with us? She is a special guest. You may recognize Aaron on TV. He's our county local Ford dealer. Thank you, Aaron. And we have Jimmy Webb, James Webb. I'm sorry about that.
So Jimmy making me feel like I'm at home in Scotland.
He is our Superior Court judge and has held that position for so many years. It's an honor to our county. And I called him Jimmy because I met him 150 years ago, maybe. And he was an assistant district attorney at that time. And Larry, could I introduce you, right, Larry? Did I? Thank you, Larry. I want to make sure of that. And we have Steve Kastner, who's part of us, who's director of the Boys and Girls Club, who spoke to us just a few days ago. And helping make this great day possible was the committee of the Builders Cup. Hugh Bingham, who's with First Bank, he's probably running late. But we have Catherine Dottridge. Please wave Catherine, because she is Miss Kiwanis, and everything that happens here, I can give her credit for. And then we have Catherine Nagy. Catherine, thank you for serving. We have Joe Vaughn. Joe's back in the back. You'll wave, Joe. And we have Leslie Lindsay and the presidential candidate, Frank Sicario. You've probably all seen him. Paul's John, the famous Frank Sicario. Okay, so, but anyway, thank you, special guests. I hope I didn't leave anyone out. If I did, you're so thankful. I'm so thankful you're here. And as we look at what's happened here over time, the Kiwanis Builders Cup was authorized in 1926 to be awarded, as our president said, time to time to the man or woman of Moore County who, by unselfish personal service, without hope of personal gain, has outstandingly contributed to the upbringing of the Sand Hills section. So the inaugural recipient of this award in 1926 was a personal friend of mine called John McQueen, president of Pinehurst Bank. And Mr. McQueen was a rare man, and the Raleigh News Observer described him as the most useful man in North Carolina. What a title to have. He not only lived by the golden rule, but he pledged 25% of his time to helping other people. Well, today, we continue this tradition of recognizing a person of integrity, outstanding achievement, an individual who's dedicated her life to serving others. And we will meet her later. So at this time, I will turn it over to our Master of Ceremonies, Catherine Nagy's husband, John. And one final thing to say is John Nagy is the editor of the #1 community newspaper in North Carolina. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon. I would be a poor newspaper reporter and editor if I did not have some secret off-the-record information to share with you. The story can now be told, Catherine Graham. It was relayed to me a couple of years ago. You know how it's a small county. Wayne, it's a small county, right? Whisper campaigns get out there, and there was a rumor going around that I was dating a petite, blonde, good-looking woman whose first name was Catherine. There were people, John Dempsey knows where I'm going with this. There were people who thought it was you and I having a thing. Catherine Graham. Honest to God, that's a true story. You heard it. Wasn't true. Thank you, Frank, for introducing all these really great folks who are here today to join us. As I was sort of thinking on the roster of folks who are here, and the reason why we are here today to celebrate the Builders Cup and all of the wonderful achievements that people have done in this community without regard for personal gain. When you look around the room and you think of the folks that Frank just introduced, there's several Builders Cup winners in that group, but it is without reservation that I say, and especially for those of you who've been around Moore County for a long time, Moore County would not be the county that it is without the work of those people. Whether it is people like Judge Webb or somebody like Misty Leland, who helped raise millions of dollars for Moore County through the opium settlement to go toward drug treatment in Moore County. People who weren't mentioned in the room, people like Sam Poole. We are in the midst today of a number of individuals who have laid or could lay claim to this cup in front of me. They have built schools. They have raised millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, in the name of good works and nonprofits and community upbuilding. So think about who you are with having lunch today. Folks like George Little and Larry Goodell, who have been on the Board of Trustees for Sand Hills since, I think God formed the Sand Hills, George. I believe George was on the coastline as the water was receding away from him. What are you at now, George? 41 years on the board? I believe the longest serving board of trustee on any community college board in the country, if I'm not mistaken. Think of what Sand Hills Community College means to this community today. It's on the front page of the Pilot today about the Boys and Girls Club and the amazing partnership that the college has done with Steve Kastner's group, the generosity of the college to give that space and that effort to help their students, their faculty, and make all of us that much better. So I'm so happy that we're here to celebrate you today, Catherine, but I couldn't let it go without sort of everybody understanding the situation in which we find ourselves this afternoon. What a great, great honor it is. So I was asked to come up and introduce Dr. Dempsey. And at first when somebody said Dr. Dempsey, I thought it was that guy from Grey's Anatomy. And then, Patrick, are you in the room? John's back is to me, so I don't know if he's smiling or not. Evan, is he smiling? Okay. I need to be careful because he has something in his hands also. I'm not going to give the usual introduction for John Dempsey because he he's heard it numerous times, and I don't think there's anybody here who doesn't know his resume. I knew that day was going to come, John, where you were going to announce your retirement, and it was one of the few days that I was not looking forward to as a resident of Moore County or as the editor of the newspaper. There are very few people who have left their mark on Moore County the way John Dempsey has, and the ways are literally too numerous to mention. So I'm not going to try to, but I think you all know those ways. I'm just going to sort of let John have his talk, but I am honored to be able to be here today to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, from Sand Hills Community College, the president, Dr. John Dempsey.
I love to get a round of applause when I'm introduced, because I so rarely get one when I finish. John, thank you so very, very much for your reference to my retirement and the very small article that appeared in the pilot to talk about me. And my only concern is that it took me a year to get on the front page of the pilot above the fold. Steve Kastner does it in 2 weeks. Now I don't understand that. Steve is a friend of mine. We play golf on Sunday afternoons, Sam. And it's great to have you in the community, Stephen. And thank you, John, for those very few words. Most people do know me, but they know me through the work of others. I do very little at Sand Hills Community College, but the people who work there do all the good things that you read about. But 33 years is a long time. It's a whole life. And as I look at the end of my 33 years, it's not too difficult to tie that perhaps into the end of something larger than a career that's in store for all of us. Walter Morris is my physician. And I went into Walter not too long ago. You may have experienced this yourselves. He gave me a carotid artery test. That is a big artery that goes from here to here. Larry, you probably got it. And Walter was pushing all of his patients to have this carotid artery test. And I got my results, and he had a meeting with me, and he said, "John, I am so proud of you. You have almost no chance of an early event." Now, if you know what medical lingo is, Kirby, you can tell them. An early event is like a bad thing. And he said, "You have almost no chance of an early event." He said, "Now, I must tell you that at the age of 77, there are no early events. And anything that happens to you, you earn." But as I do look at the future, and my beautiful wife, Evelyn, is here with me today. It's a real honor to have Evelyn here with me, because she grades me very, shall we say, conservative on my appearances. Evelyn was a student of mine. I was president of Belmont Abbey College, and Evelyn decided to go back and get her degree in biology. But she was able to take one political science course, one measly little political science course. And she was a straight A student. Well, of course, she was the president's wife. How could she be otherwise? Until she got into my class, and on the first exam, she made a B. Very bad mistake on my part. Very bad mistake, and I haven't made one since, thankfully. But as I look at the future, I'm excited. I truly am. I'm not going to be going very far. I'm going to be right down the road here in
indeed literally right down the road on Pine Ridge Road in Whispering Pines. I could walk there from here if I didn't have to use that cane. And I'm really, really looking forward. We have a little house on the lake that we just think is going to be fabulous. But as I think about, 30 years, and I think about the things that have happened in the 30 years, you can't help but think about, people like Greg. I think Greg Allen's back there. And you can't help but think about people like Larry and George. They have been not only my bosses, but they've been my friends forever. John Monroe is here today. His wife Evie couldn't be with us, but she was a friend from day one. And there's so many people who have participated in what we've been able to do at Sand Hills that it's almost incalculable. It's almost like the career of Catherine Graham. And I can't wait until somebody gets a chance to introduce Catherine. I hope they'll talk about her family. I hope they'll talk about her. She and Anita Alpenfels apparently drink from the same water fountain. They look exactly the same today as they looked when I first met them in 1989. I don't understand this, but it's true. Wouldn't say it. Would I say something that wasn't true? I mean, just look at me. You want to like the kind of guy who would lie to you. So Catherine was one of our most wonderful trustees at Sand Hills, and I hope someone will talk about the influence that she had on her. She raises everyone around her 2 or 3 notches on the scale. When you're with Catherine, you just want to be on your best behavior, because there's something about her that's, I don't know if majestic is the right word. I don't know if saintly is the right word, and John, I'll leave that to you. But there's something very special. And when Frank called me and asked me if I would come and speak at Catherine's award day, I jumped at the chance. And I just very quickly, because this is her day, it's really not my day, but very quickly tell you, as I look back on my 33 years, there are a number of things of which I'm proud. Of course, you're proud of the nursing program and all of that stuff. Naturally, I'm proud of that. But there are 3 or 4 things that are sort of below the radar. And Rosa McAllister's back there, and she knows about one of them. And that is the Sand Hope Early College program that we started, Rosa, 20 years ago? 2006, that's 16 years ago. I'm a graduate of that program, that's how I knew that. I can do that. Do you see how quickly I did that? We started in Hope County, which, we represent both Hope County and Moore County. And y'all are mostly from Moore County. But when I came to Sand Hills, Moore County was the richest county in the state, and Hope County was the poorest. Now, thank God, Moore is still the richest. But Hope County is creeping up on us, Rosa. There's a lot going on down there. And some of it was spurred by this incredible partnership we had with the Hope County schools, a partnership that's now been replicated with the Moore County schools. But this Sand Hope Early College was a revolutionary idea at the time. In fact, it was written up in the New York Times. The only time in my life I was or ever will be mentioned in a New York Times article. And they talked about how successful it was, how it had taken the dropout rate down to 0, and how Sand Hills president Rick Dempsey, all those guys I went to college with, and I have them monitoring the New York Times to see if I ever show up. And they still think I'm a nobody. Anyway, we were able to work with the students of Hope County and get them into a program that would mesh high school and college and get them out of college a year early and save their moms and their dads a whole bunch of money. It's not only successful in terms of reducing the dropout rate, but it's successful in terms of producing graduates. I happen to have in my pocket the address, the email and phone address of Esmeralda Sanchez. Evelyn and I are leaving next Thursday morning to go to South Bend, Indiana. As you might imagine, we're not there for the bratwursts. We're going to a couple of Notre Dame football games. And we're going to have dinner one night with Esmeralda Sanchez, who is the recipient of a 4-year, all expenses, every dime paid scholarship at the University of Notre Dame, and she's a graduate of Sandhook Early College. So we're just so excited about that. And that story has been replicated so many times. Another thing we're very fond of at the college is, and this is one of George's favorites, the money we raise. Now, I'm not here to hold out the hat for Sandhills, and I'm happy to do that, by the way, but as George will quickly tell you, we have the largest community college foundation in North Carolina, by far the largest per capita in the United States, and we raise more money per capita than any other community college in the United States. Now, that's kind of nice, but what does it mean? Well, it means, you guys have been reading in the paper about forgiving college loans. None of those loans are going to be forgiven to Sandhill students, because nobody graduates from Sandhills owing anybody a dime, because we're able to raise money to help them pay for their education. Nobody is unable to come to Sandhills because they don't have the money, because our Sandhills, what do we call ourselves, the partners? Promise. Our Sandhills Promise students come here free if they take a couple of courses at Sandhills while they're in high school. We have a foundation that provides for our faculty the only sabbatical program in the state of North Carolina. And believe this or not, even Dartmouth can't make this claim. Any faculty member at Sandhills who has never been to Europe is given a $2,500 fellowship to go and study in Europe after they've been teaching with us for 10 years. Dartmouth doesn't do that. Yale doesn't do it. Duke doesn't do that. But we do it at Sandhills, and we do it because we're able to raise the money to make it possible. So that's an important thing to be thinking about as you look at what's happened. I often like to say that people say, well, what are your accomplishments? Picking the right people. Because the truth is I don't do much except hire. And I hire the right people. Everybody knows that that's a secret of a good CEO. You hire the right people, then you let them alone. Let them do their jobs. And when I've got people like Rosa McAllister, and I've got people like Mary Bridgie, and I've got people like what are their names? I've got people like Brenda Jackson. You ever met Brenda Jackson? Oh my God, what a person! I've got people like Jermaine Elkins. I've got people like Kelly Shoemake. I've got people like Julie Voigt, Ron Lane. I mean, they're just amazing people. As I think about them, one of the proudest achievements, if you want to call it, is that I could walk away and nobody noticed till the mail started piling up on my desk. And in the days of email, it would take quite a while before anybody would notice. Because the people who are there are the best in the business. And I do take some pride in having been the person who hired them. The college is well run, as Larry and George and Greg and all of them can tell you. The trustees know when to hold them and when to fold them. They know that policy guidance is extremely important, but they know that administrative matters basically rest in my hands. And that's the whole philosophy that we have at Sandhills. The decisions ought to be made and the problems ought to be solved by the people closest to those decisions and problems. If we could do that in the public schools, we'd all be better off. You know, people in Raleigh deciding who reads what is no good substitute for a good librarian or a good sixth grade English teacher. We've got wonderful people at Sandhills. We're well run. We've got wonderful people. In the final analysis, though, and this gets back to what John was saying, we've got our values, and Sandhills has 5 core values that we determined that we would live by many years ago when Catherine Graham was on the board. She didn't even remember this. But she was on the board when we adopted at Sandhills the values of respect, integrity, helpfulness, excellence, and opportunity as the 5 goals by which we would live. And I think Rosa would agree that they have become more than just things that you tack on the wall. Tammy knows, because she's fairly new to Sandhills, but she knows that the culture of our campus is built around those 5 core values. One of the reasons that we are well run is that we respect one another. The trustees respect the president respects the faculty respects the students, and the students respect each other, or we get rid of them, which is another thing you can't do in the public schools, Anita. So respect is very important. Integrity is very important. I will from time to time, and George I'm sure gets the same kinds of queries, I will from time to time be asked to explain why someone's son or daughter failed out of the nursing program. And they always, it's such a coincidence, they always have failed out by 1 point. Can you imagine that? Nobody ever fails out by 2 points, or 7 or 14. The answer to that question is, whether it's coming from George, whether it's coming from me, whether it's coming from the dean. Teachers give grades, nobody else. I don't have the authority to change anybody's grade, nor would I want it. Because believe it or not, I don't know as much about organic chemistry as Pete Golden does. It's hard to believe, but I don't. So integrity is very important. Helpfulness is important. I think you find an attitude, a culture at Sandhills that is committed to people helping people, that is committed to faculty and staff helping students, to having us all help the community. Gosh, imagine the Bradshaw Performing Arts Center. Stan's out here today, is he? I saw Stan yesterday at the college's golf tournament. He came out to see how his team was going to do. Stan and Jean Bradshaw and their generosity to the college is the stuff of legend. They are the folks for whom the Bradshaw Performing Arts Center has been named, and it has hosted a number of luminaries in the entertainment business. And next March 31st, I'm so excited about this. How many of you are Broadway fans? Do we have any Broadway fans? A few. We're going to have Kelly O'Hara. Kelly O'Hara is perhaps the best voice on Broadway. She is a star of West Side Story. She's the star of The King and I. She is the star of another big 42nd Street. Anyway, she is the greatest voice there is on Broadway. She's coming to BPAC, as we call it. So our ability to draw the community together through the Performing Arts Center, through the Flyers, you all have been to Flyers games. If you haven't, you're missing something. To the Bogies, our newest addition to the community. The Bogies are here in full force, and they have created quite a storm in the community. They won the championship in their first year, and they got Bernie Carbo as their manager. And I see enough eyes in this room to be sure that when I tell you that Bernie Carbo was the guy who hit the 3-run home run in the bottom of the 8th inning to enable Carlton Fisk to get up after him and hit the home run where Carlton is waving to keep the ball fair. Everybody remembers that home run. But if Bernie doesn't hit the 2 out, 2 on, 2 strike home run in the bottom of the 8th, it doesn't happen. So Bernie's been our manager, and we've had a great time, a lot of fun. That's another of George's, I don't know, I would say pet projects, but he's a baseball fan, and we're happy to have that. Opportunity and excellence are the two that remain. And opportunity is what community colleges are there for. They're to give opportunities to people who otherwise might have none. They're to give opportunities to institutions that are capable of changing the economic arc of a family's life. We don't just get you a job, we get you a career. And we get it for you in a way that almost ensures that your kids are going to have careers too. So we don't just change lives. Marine Corps changes lives. We change families, and we change them forever. And I'm very, very proud of that. I'm also proud of excellence. The excellence that our faculty display in the way they teach. The excellence. You've been out to the campus lately and seen what Dennis and his crew have done with the campus. You would think that you're at the Biltmore House. We're going to start charging entrance fees just to walk over there. The beautiful gardens and the campus, voted, by the way, to be the second most beautiful community college campus in America. The most beautiful is South Mountain Community College in Scottsdale, Arizona. And George and I are organizing a, what do they call that stuff you put on the sides of buildings? We're going to go out there and spray paint all the buildings so that we get bumped up to number 1. What a privilege it has been. What a privilege it has been to be part of this incredible experience, this incredible story, this incredible journey. And it doesn't, they say things happen from the top down. I think things happen from the bottom up. But if they happen from the top down, thank God we have the kind of leadership we have on our Board of Trustees. Not just now, but in the past. I love to say, Frank Puss is here somewhere. Where is he? He's gone out to look for more money for Sand Hills Community College. He's so moved by what I had to say. But I always say that whether it's E.B. Cook, and you got to have some age on you to remember E.B., or Frank Puss, doesn't matter what party, doesn't matter what board, they have always taken really good care of Sand Hills Community College. And Frank and Wayne, I thank you for doing that. And I thank Catherine for the leadership that she showed when she was a trustee at the college, the leadership she showed when she was a commissioner here in Moore County, and for being my mentor and my friend for 20 years. It's a good long while. And I'm so honored that I was given the opportunity to speak at her induction. So congratulations, friend.
One final word about Dr. John Dempsey. In 2012, he was standing where our honoree is today. So he was our 2012 Builder Cup winner. Can we give him a nod? And the one thing I'll say about John is he takes your telephone call. Thank God. So he took my telephone call to be here today. And what a pleasure it is. The 18th century Irish writer who's a good friend of mine, Oliver Goldsmith. Just checking to see if you're listening. He observed this. If you can preach a better sermon, you can preach a better sermon with your life than with your lips. If this is true, the recipient of the 2022 Kiwanis Club Builders Cup, although not a pastor, has preached many good sermons in her time on this earth. She has done through her deeds and her service to Moore County things that have never been accomplished before. And I could tell all the things that she's accomplished in detail, but we'd be here until, I don't know, tomorrow, I guess. But she served early on as the town commissioner in Carthage. She was clerk of our Superior Court, which is like on the level of Judge Webb over the county, for 15 years. And she was a county commissioner for about 10 years. And the one thing that she did that's never been done in our more than 200 years history of county commissioners, she was the first female chairman of the county commissioners. It only took a little over 200 years. She also has served on numerous boards. She was on the Moore County Department of Social Services, taking care of our youth and our elder. Thank you for that. She was on the board of the Sand Hills Children's Center. She was president of the North Carolina Associations of Clerk of Courts. There's only 100 of those. And she was a trustee, as mentioned by Dr. Dempsey at Sand Hills Community College. And she was appointed by the Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court to be on the North Carolina Equity and Civil Rights Commission. Throughout her life, she has been a difference maker, willing to take on jobs that have to be done. But her list of accomplishments does not begin to fully describe this year's Builder Cup honoree. So I'm going to tell you one little story. I met Catherine in August of 1972. So those who can count, that's 50 years ago. And I met her in the old courtroom, that was the only courtroom at the time, which is now the commissioner's room. Never did I foresee that she would be what I said earlier, the first female chairman of the county commissioners. In that room, she would be sworn in, and clerk of the court, and so many other things. But that's not really telling the heart that she has. Well, a recent story would tell you that. As I was talking to her just a few days ago, she was telling me about the Moore County Sports Complex, which we owe all of our county people for creating such a wonderful place. But she was telling me about this special area, it's going to be called the Inclusive Park. And years ago, when Catherine was just a little girl in elementary school, she had a friend who had polio. And when they would go out for recess, most of you don't know that's called playtime nowadays, but we called it recess. There was no sports equipment that this little girl could play on. And Catherine talked about how isolated she knew that little girl felt. And she was just lonely, and she always, I'm sure, was very kind to her. But with this inclusive park that is now at the Moore County Sports Center, special needs children will be able to play with all children because of this special equipment. I've got to give you a special applause again for that. But that does show what a heart she has, because that was so personal to her. In making our selection in this year's award, the Builders Cup Committee had a difficult choice. There are others who have made significant contributions to this county that are actually in this room. But what becomes obvious with this year's winner is how her life's work on behalf of Moore County and the passion she displays for children, and as I just mentioned, special needs. Because that reflects the mission of Kiwanis, which is a global organization dedicated to improving the world one child and one community at a time. She lives the life that exemplifies the Kiwanian way. After years of selfless commitment to our county, our recipients decided to step away from public service, but that doesn't mean her contribution will end I can imagine, as my good friend Oliver Goldsmith said or suggested, she will, through her desire to be a difference maker, have many more sermons to preach. So fellow Kiwanis and our special guests and all of our guests, the woman that I have the pleasure of introducing has fulfilled many roles, as I mentioned, town commissioner and the chairman of the county commissioners, but on a personal level, I'm sure my good friend Al would say she's a loving wife. Michelle would say she's a loving mother. And her superstar granddaughter would say she's an outstanding grandmother. And to all of us, a very good friend. The one thing that people said to me when they found out that she was the winner of this year, and it started with Dr. Kilpatrick, what a wonderful selection. And that kept ringing into my ears as ever I tell people, and they would say that over and over and over. Today, the Kiwanis Club of the Sandhills would like to add one more role to your list of accomplishments, the recipient of the 2022 Builders Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Catherine Graham. If you'll come forward. Have a seat, please. Curtis Ritchie is our 2021 Builders Cup. He's our Lieutenant Governor, and he's going to present the cup to Catherine, and I'm sure she will keep her comments down to about 30 minutes. Thank you.
Excellent comments, Frank. Thank you very much. Catherine, on behalf of the Kiwanis Club of the Sandhills, it's both an honor and a privilege to award you the 2022 Builders Cup. Congratulations.
Wow, thank you. Looking around the room, it's almost like a family reunion. Some of you, Mr. Sam Poole over there, I've not seen you in a long time. It's good to see you. So many friends, associates through the years, Dr. Chart, just so many. And I just want to do a special recognition to our county table over there, especially our county manager, our county attorney, and our county clerk, and our tax collector, who he's done a good job. I'm telling you, he keeps our taxes, he lets us keep our taxes low, and that's a good thing. But our county manager, I mean, can you imagine having 5 bosses who are elected? And if you've ever seen an elected person who doesn't have somewhat of a little ego sometimes, although I don't think I did, but the rest of them, surely I have observed that. So, and he always is cool with us. I mean, he always listens to us. He is the #1 county manager in North Carolina. You folks are getting a bang for your buck. And of course, our county clerk, Laura, who is forever keeping us straight in such a nice, dignified, courteous way. Never has she even indicated, I can't believe you didn't get that the 5th time I told you about it. She is always so good with that. And our county attorney, who is, we've not been sued. I will be finishing up 8 years. No one has said I did anything illegal, unethical, and thank you, Misty. Just a great county attorney. And of course, our chairman, Frank Quiz, who calls me too much, but I'm always glad to get his calls. He keeps us all informed. And what a challenge to follow Dr. John Dempsey in speaking. My goodness, when I first went on Board of Trustees, I thought that was the greatest thing that I had ever been privileged to do. And I was so afraid that Dr. John Dempsey would say, okay, we've got Catherine Graham here. Can you tell me something about yourself? But what he did was, he made me feel like I was #1 trustee. I was the best. Of course, he didn't do that in front of the other trustees, certainly not George Little. But on a one-to-one basis, I was #1 trustee. And I have found in life that it doesn't matter what you do in life. What really matters is, and what people always remember, is how you make them feel. And Dr. Dempsey, that's why you're so good at collecting money for Sandhills Community College. I mean, you're number one. People feel like it's just such a privilege. You know, I get to give to Sandhills Community College. and that's because of you and our other wonderful trustees back there. So what a privilege it's been to serve people in Moore County. And what an honor this is to receive this award. I look back on the list, and by the way, Frank, you failed to tell them when we met in 1972, our kindergarten class was touring the courtroom that day. Isn't that right? I think that's right. Okay, just want to make sure you folks understood that. And John Nagy, I cannot believe you told them about our affair. As I am old enough to be your mother, you know. And I have to say what John Nagy did to me, and I have forgiven you, John. On the bond issue for the schools, oh my goodness, I worked with some of the most wonderful women. We came from different backgrounds, different political parties. Connie Lovell led us so well, but we all wanted one thing. We wanted that bond issue to pass for our kids, for the children. And so, the Newsmaker of the Year, you open your pilot, everybody's anxious to see who made the Newsmaker of the Year. We opened the newspaper, and lo and behold, it was this group of women. And John had labeled us the Wonder Women. And if you don't think people picked up on that, oh my goodness. Even my family, we'll just let the Wonder Woman do it. She'll handle it. So, but thank you for that recognition, even though you did label us that, John. I just want to say thank you to the Kiwanis Club. And looking out in this group of people, so many of you, as Dr. Dempsey said, you're all such good contributors to our community, to the children of Moore County. I do serve on the Juvenile Justice Partnership Committee, and that is to keep the juveniles from ending up in the court system. And we do contribute to the Boys and Girls Club. I'm proud of that, and I'm awfully honored to serve on that committee, and have served on that since I've been a commissioner. And Frank, I'm not finishing up 10 years. It may seem like it to a lot of you people, but it's only 8 years. But it has been an honor to serve as a commissioner in Moore County. It's also been an honor to serve on the Department of Social Services Board. I have served on it, I think, for maybe 12 years. But that is in helping children, what you folks do in Kiwanis, and thank you so much for that. You help the kids. And if you ever get a chance to go to the Foster Children's Christmas party, man, that just makes your Christmas. It just makes your Christmas to see those kids get those presents and smile. And those presents come from people who volunteer to give those gifts. And I see my friend Neil Jackson back there. He was actually supposed to be a guest at our table, but I see he chose to sit with more important people back there today. But I told him today, we were talking about that, and he told me that he and his wife are working on establishing a foundation for foster children. And I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds, but that he and his wife adopted 2 foster children. So we had a good time just briefly talking about that. And I will close with saying this. I feel like today the farmer who took time off from his crops, and he went in and told his wife, he said, you know, we really need to go to our neighbor's funeral. You know, we've just known him for 30, 40 years, and we really need to go. And so she says, okay, she gets ready to go. And I think it might have been down at your church, Neil, I'm not sure. But it was definitely a good Baptist church, and I'm a Baptist, so I can say that. So they get to the funeral, and they're sitting there a few minutes, and the minister gets up, and he begins to tell all the good things about this farmer's neighbor. I mean, they were just wonderful things. And the farmer turns to his wife and whispers, he says, we need to go. And she said, why? Oh, well, we're at the wrong funeral. So I kind of feel like that. Maybe some of you feel like, I didn't know, is that Catherine Graham that I knew? But thank you so much. This indeed will be how you made me feel, and I truly will never get
over how you have made me feel. You just made me feel so good and so honored to have been a part of serving the citizens in Moore County. And it's a good day to be in Moore County. Thank you.
Typical politician fashion, you leave them laughing. Thank you, Catherine, for those remarks, and it's hard to imagine a better recipient for all your years of service to Carthage and to Moore County. You gonna run for State House in a couple of years? I don't suspect Catherine's done. She's certainly not done serving her community. I wanted to take a quick minute before we adjourn just to thank a couple other people who took the time out to join us today. Representing Kiwanis, we have with us today our Governor, Joe Crostick. Joe, if you could stand for a second. Thank you very much for coming. And we also have with us this afternoon our Governor-elect, Mary Winfrey. Mary, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. We are the Kiwanis Club of the Sand Hills. We have been around now for 100 years, and we hope to see you again at our next 100-year celebration. Quick note for Kiwanians: we will not be meeting next Wednesday afternoon due to Labor Day. So we will see you in a couple weeks. Thank you all very much for coming, and we are adjourned.